The 2025 NFL Draft is right round the corner, and there are so many questions for fantasy that are going to be answered on draft day. But with a week to go until the draft, I wanted to answer a bunch of your questions for fantasy football, ranging from who's the tight end one to what should you be doing with Cam Ward. Let's get into it. If you like this kind of content, make sure to drop a subscribe down below and let me know any other questions that you have. But let's take a look at the first question. So the first question I'm going to be answering is, who is the tight end one? Now, this is one of the hottest debates in fantasy football right now, with people talking classically about Tyler Warren. He is most likely to get the higher draft capital. He's being mocked around 7th overall, or quite consistently as 7th overall, actually, to the Jets. Then Colston Loveland as well, who is being mocked towards the teens, maybe towards the early 20s, looking at maybe the Colts, Broncos, the Chargers. I'd love him to slip to the Rams, but I think it's unlikely. So he is looking to go a little bit later. Now, Tyler Warren is seen as this alpha generational type prospect. He was the entire Penn State offense last year, although it did take him until his senior year to finally break out, but he was not only an alpha in the passing game, in the receiving game, but also actually, threw a few passes, rushed as a wildcat, even took a snap at center, and then caught his own touchdown, which was incredibly impressive. Now, Colston Loveland is your more typical tight end, really strong in the blocking game. I think that is a little bit controversial, but a really smooth and fluid mover, someone who can be an alpha in the receiving game and can line up all over the field. Very, very dominant at the catch point, but really fluid hips, really smart route running, and someone that can win with physicality as well as with guile. You might be able to tell from the way I talk about them. Colston Loveland is my tight end one. It's not to say I'm out on Tyler Warren. I'm just a little bit too concerned about the strangeness of his profile. So the fact that he has never really won classically as a tight end relies too much on physicality and less on guile and that kind of route running ability, or a bit more finesse to his game. And then also the late breakout age. I'm not someone who typically is too bothered by breakout age, but the fact he did nothing for the first 4 years of his career is a worry to me. I currently would take Colston Loveland at the 108 in Superflex drafts, and I'm looking towards Tyler Warren at the 201. So there's not a huge gap between them. I think ADP will settle the other way round, but the community seems to be coming round to Colston Loveland a little bit. So maybe by the time we get to rookie drafts, that consensus will have flipped the other way. The next question is, in Superflex draft, should you be looking towards the running back 2 or the wide receiver 1? And I know this is a really difficult one for people because obviously we think it's a relatively lower wide receiver class and a much higher running back class. Now, to me, Ted McMillan and Travis Hunter are sitting towards the top of my wide receiver rankings. My running back 2, I've included Amari Hampton because he is the consensus running back 2. Mine is currently Travion Henderson, although draft capital and landing spot could change that, probably not a huge amount. To me, it is Ted McMillan at this time of asking, but is very much a tier at the top. So I currently have a flat tier of 5 to start off rookie drafts, and that is looking at my top 2 running backs, my top 2 wide receivers, and then Cam Ward in Superflex. I actually have Amari Hampton a little bit lower, but that's not the point of this. We're going to come on to that into the next question. To me, Ted McMillan is really being slept on, which is strange for the consensus wide receiver 1. But I think there's a lot of prospect fatigue happening here. And I think a lot of this then just comes down to positional value in dynasty leagues, which is just unfortunate when we have an incredibly running back heavy draft. It is actually a draft which is going to be really fortunate for competitive rosters who are just waiting to slot in running backs to then build around going into next season or going into the next few seasons. But to me, I would take Ted McMillan at either the 102 or 103 after Ashton Genty, potentially after Cam Ward as well. I think he is that good of a prospect, and I don't think people should be sleeping on him just because they're a little bit sick of him because they've been hearing about him for a while, and they want someone more exciting than someone who is completely dominant and able to line up all 3 areas of the field and is like 6'5", 220 pounds, but moves like he's sort of Jalen Knoll size. I hinted at this just now, but the next question for you is, who is the running back 2? And I've included here Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, and Amari Hampton. Now, Judkins, The athleticism did vault him up boards because people didn't expect him to absolutely dominate the combine in the way that he did, especially in the explosiveness drills, so in the vertical and the broad. To me, he is still just a little bit behind these two, but it is a flat tier, so it is Genty. Then I have these next two running backs, and then I have Judkins afterwards. So between Henderson and Hampton, it basically comes down to a pick your poison type thing. So I understand the arguments with Hampton. I think he definitely goes higher in the actual NFL draft. But to me, with Henderson, it's the explosivity and it's then this ceiling that I think is higher than Hampton. It's that ability to take a pass 80 yards, that ability to find the right gap, get to the edge, and break everything open for a touchdown. I think Henderson is someone that you can feature your entire offense around. I think Hampton is a really nice running back, but I don't see, aside from the contact balance, maybe what his dominant skill is or his dominant trait is. So to me, it's Henderson over Hampton, but I can understand the argument either way. I think the argument here, it depends on what you're looking for. So if you're drafting at the 102 and you want a running back, Hampton is very much a floor pick. Henderson, to me, is a ceiling pick. I think Henderson in the passing game is way better. He's also, considering the size, one of the best pass protecting backs in this class, which is very exciting. So to me, it's that then, that ceiling question with Travion Henderson. Health definitely an issue, but hoping the fact that he's healthy coming into the leagues means he can stay healthy-ish in the league. It's not to say I don't like Amara Hampton. I've had that leveled at me before. I just have Henderson slightly higher over him just because of that explosiveness and that ceiling. If you are enjoying this and you want more rookie content, why not go and check out my fancy Pancake Top 50 Rookie Guide? It is filled with prospect analysis like this, comparisons, strengths, weaknesses, and it is available for free at the link below. But let's get back into the video. The next question when it comes to rookie drafts is when should you be taking the quarterback to? We're going to get onto the Cam Ward question in just a second, but this is a really difficult one. I think when we were seeing Shedeur Sanders going at 2 or 3 overall, which actually he still might with a private workout just having been scheduled with the Giants, we were seeing Shedeur mocked at around the 104, 105. Now consensus has him down at the 108, 109. Now, Shedeur isn't the question to me. Shedeur Sanders isn't my quarterback too. Jalen Milrow is. If you like Shedeur, if he goes top 5, I can see the argument for taking him towards the back of the first. To me, again, it's a ceiling question. So Jalen Milrow, I currently have as my 201. And Shedeur Sanders as my 202. So again, very, very close between the two. Shedeur Sanders, if you can get a starting quarterback in the early second or late first, you should be happy with that. But it reminds me a little bit of the Kenny Pickett type thing of people going, well, he's a quarterback and it's Superflex, so we should be taking him, towards the top of the first round. And actually, I just don't think the ceiling is there with him. I think, Shedeur Sanders' best comp to me is Tua. And if you could draft Tua now in a Superflex draft, in this draft, you'd probably be looking towards the middle or back of the first round just because we don't really think the upside is there, especially when the situation isn't perfect around them. Tua's kind of more dominant year was when the offense was absolutely exploding after they traded for Tyreek Hill. You had that huge game against the Broncos where, they went for sort of 50 plus points. I think it might have been 70. I don't remember. That's not what we're talking about here. Jalen Milrow to me is my quarterback too because of the upside of that athleticism. I also think he is actually a better passer than people give him credit for. So to me, it's around the 201. I can understand people that want to go earlier, but I think the back of the first is where it starts really being a question to me. Then the next question is, when should you take Cam Ward? Now, we know at this point that Cam Ward is going to be drafted 101 overall in the draft next week. He was even on stream playing Fortnite talking about who's the best receivers in the league. And he goes, Calvin Ridley. And then he throws in Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson because you can't not. And then Treylon Burks. Like, he knows, we know, it's so clear to see. With a quarterback going 101, there's an argument that you should be taking them first overall. Ashton Genty is an absolutely elite prospect, but he's a running back. So the positional value just kind of argues that you should be taking the quarterback. To me, I'm not really sure where I'm going to sit with this one when we actually get to rookie drafts. Am I physically going to be able to click the running back over the quarterback? I'm not sure. I'll want some shares of Genty for sure if I can get them. I don't have many 101s. I actually just traded one away for Nico Collins last week. To me, I think consensus sees him going at the 101 in this class, and I honestly don't hate it. I think when you have a quarterback with the upside of Cam Ward, it's gone first overall. Landing spot isn't great, but we're bad at judging landing spots. I can see an argument that you should probably end up taking him 101 overall. That is going to delight people with the 102. But I think consensus probably does flip. I think once he goes first overall and we start talking about quarterback versus running back, people are going to want to start taking him around that mark. The next question I have for you is when to risk Travis Hunter. Now, I talked about this a lot in my profile video on Hunter, where I said that he's probably the best wide receiver in this class. I actually have him as wide receiver 2, but it's really, really close at the top with Ted McMillan. The risk with Travis Hunter is obviously the two-way question. You don't need me to tell you about that, but the spots he's being linked to, I tweeted about this the other day. So his floor is 4th overall, right? And that's if someone takes Shador instead of taking him or Abdul Carter. When you look at those teams, they all have better corner depth charts than they have wide receiver, particularly the Browns, where he's likely going to end up. They have a really nice trio of corners. And then at wide receiver, it's Jerry Jeudy. Cedric Tillman I like, but they're much more needy at the wide receiver position. So to me, I think he ends up playing wide receiver the majority of the time. I don't think this is as risky a question as we think it is. And that, to me, makes Travis Hunter the pick anywhere between the 101. I think you can argue if you really love the skill set as a wide receiver. But I think probably 102 to 3, floor 105. I'm going to reevaluate my rankings after the draft and see where he ends up sitting. To me, I'd imagine it'll be the 104 if I'm going to be asking right now, but I'm going to be perfectly comfortable taking him around that mark. It just doesn't really worry me so much. I don't think the risk is actually that risky because look at the corner depth charts of the players ahead of you. It's going to be easier for him to be a wide receiver and then come in for kind of dime packages and play as a 4th corner or a 4th DB, using him a bit more flexibly than it is to be the other way around. So I think chances are he ends up as not a full-time wide receiver, but majority a wide receiver, and for fantasy, that absolutely vaults him towards the top of the first. It'll be interesting to see where ADP sits, see whether you need to take him there, but I don't think the risk is that risky right now. And then finally, a question I had on Twitter, which I think is a really interesting one. When should you trade out of the first entirely? And I think this is definitely a question when it comes to tier-based drafting. So for me, I've started putting my ADP, my rankings into tiers so that I know when I can move down pretty safely. And I think to me, it's basically after Quinton Judkins and after... To me, it's Emeka Egbuka, but I can understand the argument a little bit later. It's a relatively flat tier at running back and wide receiver. There's obviously then the tight ends available, but you need to put together your tiers so that you know when you're completely safe to move back and how far you can move back. To me, if I'm at the 109 and Loveland's gone in front of me, maybe the 110 if Judkins is gone as well, and the next 5 players are all in the same tier, I'm perfectly happy moving back to 203 and picking up some extra capital, particularly when it comes to how flat this wide receiver class is then. So I have probably my wide receiver, I'd say 7, so just outside of Jalen Knoll, I think that's Jaden Higgins. Probably Knoll and Higgins in the same tier, so probably my wide receiver 6. Then all the way back to my wide receiver 12, which is Elik Iomenor. That's kind of the same tier to me. So to me, you just need to make sure that you are tiering your approach to your rookie rankings so that you know exactly how many spots you can move back, pick up an extra asset, and get someone that, they might be ranked a little bit lower for you, but they are in the same tier. And so you are perfectly happy moving back. Let me know down below in the comments your thoughts on any of the questions I've asked today, and if you have any more, drop them in the comments and I will answer every single one. While you're there, drop a like on the video, drop a subscribe, and you can check out my rookie guide, which is available in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.